So sales lead to dopamine. Dopamine is an amazing hormone in the human brain. If you go to like WebMD, you'll find what is it? It's a neurotransmitter. Your body makes it and your nervous system uses it to send messages between cells. That's why it's sometimes called a chemical messenger. Plays a role in how we feel pleasure. So, this is the key here. And this does relate to what I'm going to get to in a second, but it's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan, helps us strive, focus, and find things interesting. So let's just go right along here. The major pathway is the brain, okay, for dopamine hits, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. When dealing with dopamine, this is something that happens, our brain releases it, and then we experience a like happy sensation. And in that sensation, after the dopamine hit, we feel almost like we can do anything. So if you don't get the dopamine hit, you're not going to be happy and you're not going to be motivated and you're going to think like, what the heck am I doing? This sucks. Happy phase leads to more productivity. In that, once you're happy and once you're experiencing some success, you become more productive. So you want to do more, so you want to scale more, so you want to put more effort into your business. In our case, I'm talking about the print on demand world, but dopamine is the key to this whole thing. Dopamine starts, you get a sale, dopamine happens, you're happy, you're more productive, you want to do more. So what happens when you don't get it? Well, let's look at a place like, I'm going to pick on them, Etsy. If you're on Etsy, the dopamine hits are few and far between because you do not, sales are slow. When sales are slow in our business, we don't get that little burst of energy. We don't get that little reward. We don't get anything that makes us feel like this is amazing. I'm doing a great job. I can't wait to do more. On Etsy, you just don't get that dopamine hit. So it kind of sucks. So when sales are slow, what happens? You become depressed. Seriously, you do. And I've seen it. I've seen it a million times. And I coach a lot of people, and I've seen this all the time. When sales are slow, you become depressed. And when you become depressed, you don't want to do anything, to be honest. You don't want to do anything. Because you're not getting those sales, and you put in all this effort and all this time, and it's just not working. So instead, what you want to do is you want to get this. So how do you get it? Well, you get sales. So let's go over here, and let's go with something like Shopify. So on there, your ability to basically get sales increases dramatically because you can generate your own traffic on Shopify, which you can't really do on Etsy. You're relying completely on Etsy for everything, and it's kind of a waste of time. So when you generate your own traffic, that increases odds of a sale. And when you increase your odds of a sale, what happens? What happens when you get a sale? We know you get that dopamine hit. So we know that all the way up here, you get dopamine. So this is it in a nutshell, really. And this is what I'm seeing in a lot of the members of my coaching site, my VIP program, everybody. When sales are slow, they feel like this sucks. I don't like this. You become depressed. You get anxious. Every move you make becomes difficult because you're not seeing any results from hours and days and weeks and months of effort. So you don't do anything, and then you'll actually go into a rabbit hole of you're going to start looking at the next shiny object / guru, and you're going to hope that they have the answer for you. Because really, if you're experiencing this and you don't do anything, and then you start looking for the next shiny object or the next guru, and then they fail, then you just end up eventually, at some point, quitting. So it takes a while. I mean, to get from the point of I'm super excited, this is amazing, to yeah, I quit. It is not a fun journey at all, and I've been on this myself with Etsy specifically. And when sales are slow, and then I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And you start thinking, okay, I have to analyze every single thing I'm doing. And well, this person says, go work on your SEO titles. And this person says, go work on your keywords. And this person says, make sure you list every day. And another person says, just list more. And so you do all that, and then nothing happens because you're not getting that dopamine hit. So nothing happens, and you just start looking at the next shiny object, and then you quit. Instead of even bothering with this path, and this path used to work very well, because in the past on Etsy, you would get sales. And when you got sales on Etsy, you would get that dopamine hit. So you'd be happy and you'd be more productive and you'd want to put more effort into your Etsy shop because it worked and things were going wonderful. And you saw results, and you saw, instead of just money going out on Etsy, which you do pay a lot on Etsy to be on Etsy. If you don't understand that, go look at my video on Etsy fees and you'll see how much you really pay. It's insane. It's actually more expensive than most platforms out there. But if you're paying all this money in fees and relisting fees, and you're still not getting any sales, that's not even when the transaction fees and processing fees and whatever other random fee they want to tack onto your store comes into play, you're going to quit eventually because it's not working. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why it doesn't work. Like, a lot of people on Etsy just copy each other eventually, and there's like 2,000 of you with the same design trying to sell it on Etsy, and it's not working. And then you're like, why isn't this working? Oh, gee, I don't know. There's 2,000 people selling the exact same thing. Like, that's not going to happen. Whereas over here, when you open up your own store and you're like, all right, well, the only reason I don't want to open my own store is because I don't know how to do this part. I don't know how to generate my own traffic, and it seems really complicated, and blah, 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 and whatever excuse you want to throw out there, which is just an excuse, because we are creatures of habit too. When we get embedded into something, we don't want to change. And we don't want to change because we don't want to admit that what we're doing isn't working, and we don't want to go through the learning phase of a new system because we're deeply embedded in the one that we're in. And it's more comfortable for a human to live in an uncomfortable situation than go on to one that might be uncomfortable initially, but then it takes off after that. But I'm telling you right now, this dopamine, and when you start getting sales, is the key to it all. Because once you get those hits and they start coming in, and you look on your phone, or you get a ding on your phone, or you get an email notification that says sale, 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 you want more of those. It's addicting. It's very addicting. And but it's a good addiction because it's actually you profiting, you making money at what you're doing. So I don't care what type of product you're selling. Now I do print on demand products, and I do t-shirts, and I've done a whole bunch of other products in the past. But if you're on Etsy and you're not making sales and you're getting depressed, it's because there's no dopamine. There's no dopamine hits. If you want to get those hits, which are wonderful, they're amazing. I just had one before I shot this video, and I'll probably have one when I check my email right after I shoot this video. It makes me happy. It makes me more productive. It makes me want to put more out there. It wants me to put more effort into it. It's everything I need to keep me going. And the only way to do that is to do this right here. That's the key to it. So the key to dopamine hits and getting sales is right there. And while it may seem uncomfortable at first, and it is, I mean, just like anything, when you learn to ride a bike, you probably fall down a couple times. But did you stop learning to ride the bike just because you fell down a couple times? No, you got back on. Even if you had to go in the house and get a Band-Aid because you scraped the crap out of your knee, you're still going to get back on. And then eventually, riding a bike is like, you don't even think about it. It's the same thing with generating your own traffic. It's the same thing with getting those dopamine hits. Put yourself in a position where you can actually succeed, instead of in a position where everything is stacked against you succeeding. So that's it. Somebody was asking me about dopamine, and I thought, well, I could go here and I can look at it, but I thought, why don't we tie this in with print on demand? And there's a lot in here too, that you can look up, on Google, but this is really the key. Your mental health is important. And what I tell my kids all the time is, if they come to me with a problem, and if it's a relationship or if it's work related or if it's school related or whatever it may be, my first question to them is, what solution would protect your mental health the best? So if it's a boyfriend that's being ridiculous and maybe they broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together, what decision can you make now? What path can you go down that's going to protect your mental health the most? Because your mental health matters. It should be a priority. And if you're constantly putting yourselves in a position where you're not protecting your mental health, that's a bad thing. Nobody talks about this stuff. All you ever see in the print-on-demand world, in the e-commerce world, and Shopify and Etsy is rah screenshot. But I'm only going to show you the screenshot of the gross revenue. I'm never going to show you what I actually spent on ads or the cost of goods sold or any of that stuff, because that's not as sexy looking as just a straight up screenshot. So your mental health matters. Getting these dopamine hits matters. If you haven't had any from your business online, you need to go get it. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If that's you, do something about it. It's up to you. I can sit here and just yap away all day long, but until you're ready to actually do something about it, nothing's going to happen. So you need to make a decision to protect your mental health and to do something that makes sense for you so that you can get these dopamine hits, so you can be happy, you can be more productive. And yes, the money is wonderful, but I'm telling you right now, the dopamine hit's a little bit better. And that's why I do coaching, and that's why I have a VIP program, because I could just shut those down today and just focus 100% on my stores and just make money quietly on my own. But honestly, it removes that dopamine hit for me, because I get the dopamine hit too from watching somebody else succeed. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. If you are stuck on Etsy and you don't know how to get off, this is how. Learn this part and you'll be doing really, really, really well. A lot better than you are now. All right, dopamine. That's the topic of the day. Let me know what you think. Have you got a dopamine hit in the last 24 hours? Let me know in the comments.